Spiritual maturity isn't about how much you know. It's about how deeply you've transformed. It's the quiet evolution that happens when pain no longer poisons you, when peace no longer depends on others, and when your power no longer needs to be proven. You stop reacting to every insult, every delay, every loss. You begin to move slower, speak softer, and think deeper. You start noticing what truly matters: energy, truth, alignment. The noise that once controlled you now fades into the background. Because when your soul grows stronger than your emotions, you start living from wisdom instead of impulse. The spiritually mature don't need to announce their growth. They embody it. Their calm unsettles the chaotic. Their silence exposes the shallow. Their presence alone teaches what words never could. In this video, we'll explore 5 powerful signs that you've reached spiritual maturity, not as an achievement, but as a state of awareness. Subscribe to Motivation Guru. Join the Guru Clan, where inner mastery replaces outer chaos. 1. You respond. You don't react. There's a moment in every awakening when you realize not everything deserves your energy. The spiritually mature don't move impulsively. They've been through too many storms to confuse noise with danger. They've learned that reacting from emotion is easy, but responding from awareness is power. Reactivity is the language of the unhealed. It's the mind's attempt to regain control when it feels threatened. But maturity comes when you no longer need to prove you're right, to win an argument, or to defend your worth. You begin to recognize that peace is more valuable than pride, and presence is stronger than rage. There was a time when silence felt like weakness. Now you understand silence is strategy. It's the mark of someone who has mastered their emotional landscape. When others provoke you, you don't retaliate. You observe. You've learned that not every battle is yours to fight, and not every insult is worth your peace. To respond instead of react means you've developed space between trigger and choice. That space is awareness, the sacred ground where clarity lives. In that pause, you see intention instead of offense, truth instead of noise. You no longer meet aggression with aggression because you understand that chaos feeds on attention. You starve it with stillness. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you've learned to direct them. Anger becomes fuel for change, not destruction. Sadness becomes reflection, not despair. Even fear becomes a teacher, revealing where trust still needs to grow. You no longer drown in emotion. You dive into it and rise wiser. The spiritually immature seek to be heard first. The spiritually mature seek to understand first. You don't need to shout to prove strength, because real strength whispers. You no longer demand validation. You embody calm. That calm unnerves the reactive because it mirrors everything they've yet to master within themselves. When you respond instead of react, people might call you detached. They won't understand that your stillness is not numbness, it's control. You've learned to choose peace in situations designed to steal it. You've realized that not everything deserves your presence, and not every situation requires a statement. The ability to stay composed under pressure is not weakness, it's refinement. It's evidence that you've done the inner work, that you no longer need to participate in emotional chaos to feel alive. You've mastered the art of protecting your energy by directing it consciously. This is spiritual maturity in its purest form, when your emotions no longer dictate your actions, and your mind no longer sabotages your peace. You've transcended the need to react to everything around you because you've found stability within yourself. The world still throws tests your way, but now you meet them differently. Where you once exploded, you now exhale. Where you once chased closure, you now choose clarity. You no longer let others decide when your peace begins or ends. To respond instead of react is to live from wisdom instead of wounds. It's to understand that power doesn't come from control. It comes from composure. And when you master that, when silence becomes your sword and awareness your shield, nothing external can shake what's already balanced within. 2. You seek depth, not drama. There comes a point in your awakening when the things that once entertained you begin to exhaust you. The noise, the gossip, the endless scrolling, the shallow conversations, they no longer feed your soul. You start craving silence over stimulation, truth over comfort, depth over distraction. That shift is not boredom, it's evolution. When you begin seeking depth, it means your spirit has matured beyond the need for external noise to feel alive. You no longer chase validation because attention no longer feels like nourishment. You've realized that most people don't want connection. They want distraction. But you've outgrown the need to perform for the crowd. Drama loses its flavor when you've tasted peace. You stop participating in emotional chaos because you recognize how expensive it is, not in time, but in energy. You no longer entertain people who confuse intensity with intimacy or conflict with connection. You don't crave adrenaline anymore. You crave alignment. Your circle shrinks. Your conversations grow quieter but deeper. You start noticing who drains you, who inspires you, and who no longer resonates with the frequency of your new peace. You don't judge them. You simply detach, because you've learned that not everyone can swim in deep waters. Some are only meant to exist on the surface. Spiritual maturity turns attention inward. You stop looking for excitement out there and begin finding meaning in here, in solitude, in self-reflection, in moments of stillness that once felt empty. You realize that drama is the mind's addiction to chaos, and peace is the soul's natural state. When you choose the latter, your energy becomes sacred. You also stop defending your calm. You don't explain your silence, your boundaries, or your distance. You've realized that most people misunderstand peace because they've never experienced it. They'll call you cold when you're simply centered. They'll call you distant when you're simply discerning. Let them. The spiritually mature know that not everyone is meant to understand your evolution. Some are only meant to witness it. To seek depth is to choose truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It means you'd rather have one honest conversation than a lifetime of surface-level noise. You no longer chase stimulation. You crave resonance. You value people who think before they speak, feel before they act, and live with purpose instead of pretense. The world will try to pull you back with gossip, trends, and trivial distractions, but you'll start seeing through it. You'll notice how drama thrives on energy, and you'll refuse to feed it. You'll walk away not because you're better, but because you're done bleeding for battles that don't build you. Peace becomes addictive. Solitude becomes sacred. Your energy moves with intention, deliberate, measured, unbothered. You no longer move to be seen. You move to stay aligned. That's the beauty of spiritual maturity. When everyone else is chasing noise, you start listening for truth. When others seek validation, you seek meaning. And when they crave attention, you crave understanding. In a world obsessed with spectacle, depth becomes rebellion. And those who seek it, quietly, consistently, and without apology, are the ones who find true freedom. 3. You respect timing, not control. One of the greatest marks of spiritual maturity is the moment you stop forcing life to happen and start trusting it to unfold. You realize that control was never strength. It was fear disguised as discipline. The spiritually mature understand that not everything delayed is denied, and not everything forced is meant to be. You've learned the difference between alignment and attachment. Attachment says, I need this to feel complete. Alignment says, if it's meant for me, it will meet me halfway. That's the wisdom of timing, the ability to wait without fear and move without desperation. When you were unhealed, uncertainty felt like chaos. You tried to predict, manipulate, or rush every outcome. You believed that if you didn't control everything, everything would fall apart. But as your awareness deepened, you realized life has a rhythm, and fighting it only creates noise. You started to understand that patience isn't passive. It's an act of power. Spiritual maturity teaches surrender, not as weakness, but as trust. You stop clinging to things not meant for you. You stop begging for doors to stay open when your peace depends on them closing. You start saying thank you for the detours, because you know they're protection, not punishment. Control comes from fear of loss. Trust comes from understanding purpose. The mature soul knows that every season, the waiting, the silence, the storm, serves a higher plan. You no longer measure progress by speed, but by alignment. You don't ask, why isn't it happening? You ask, what is this delay teaching me? There's a calmness that replaces your old urgency. You begin to notice that what's truly yours doesn't require force. It flows. Opportunities, people, and moments that align with your energy move toward you naturally, because you're no longer chasing, you're attracting. And patience belongs to the ego. Patience belongs to the soul. When you trust divine timing, anxiety fades, because you stop treating life as a race and start treating it as a journey. You understand that rushing creates resistance, and surrender creates space for grace to move. The spiritually immature demand answers. The spiritually mature wait for revelation. They understand that clarity arrives when the noise within is quiet enough to receive it. That's why surrender isn't about giving up. It's about letting go of the illusion of control and opening your hands to receive what's meant. You begin to notice how life works in patterns, how every rejection redirected you, how every delay refined you, how every ending prepared you. You realize that nothing was random. It was always rhythm. And with that understanding, peace replaces panic. There's a quiet power in trusting timing. You no longer need to chase love, success, or validation. You simply align yourself with truth and let what's meant for you find you. You move with intention, not impulse. You rest in uncertainty because you've learned that uncertainty is the birthplace of miracles. Those who still live in fear won't understand your calm. They'll call it luck, passivity, or indifference. But you know the truth. It's mastery. It's the strength of a soul that no longer tries to force doors open, but waits patiently for the right ones to unlock themselves. The spiritually mature respect timing because they've learned that every chapter of life is divine choreography. The waiting refines, the loss redirects, the silence strengthens. You no longer fight the current, you flow with it, because you finally understand everything meant for you arrives exactly when you are ready to hold it. And when that realization settles deep into your bones, control dies and freedom begins. 4. You forgive without needing closure. At some point on the path of awakening, you stop waiting for apologies that will never come. You stop rehearsing the past, trying to make sense of why people did what they did. You stop chasing explanations from those incapable of giving them. That's when real freedom begins, the moment you realize closure isn't something you get from others. It's something you give yourself. Forgiveness to the spiritually mature is no longer an act of approval. It's an act of release. It doesn't mean you excuse the wound. It means you refuse to carry it any longer. You've learned that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The longer you grip it, the heavier your spirit becomes. In your earlier stages, you sought justice. You wanted people to admit their wrongs, to understand your pain, to make it right. But as you evolved, you saw the truth. Not everyone can meet you where you are. Some are too blind to see the damage they've done. Others are too proud to face it. Waiting for them to change only change you to their energy. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. It's the moment you choose peace over punishment. You stop demanding closure because you understand that your healing can't depend on someone else's awareness. You close the chapter not because it makes sense, but because your soul deserves quiet more than your ego deserves validation. The spiritually mature understand that forgiveness is not forgetting, it's freeing. It's remembering the lesson without reliving the pain. It's looking at the past with neutrality instead of bitterness. It's the ability to say, "You hurt me, but you no longer have power here." To forgive without closure requires strength. It means you've developed enough self-awareness to realize that closure isn't always verbal. Sometimes it's spiritual. Sometimes it's the silence that follows acceptance, the breath that follows release. Forgiveness doesn't always feel peaceful at first. It often feels like grief, the mourning of what could have been, the letting go of the version of them you imagined. But that grief transforms into freedom when you realize you no longer need their apology to move forward. You reclaim the energy that was once trapped in resentment. The immature seek revenge. The wounded seek understanding. The awakened seek release. You've learned that revenge doesn't heal. It anchors you to the same vibration as the pain. You rise by letting go, not by proving your point. When you reach this stage, your peace no longer depends on anyone's behavior. You stop expecting people to heal you, and you start giving yourself what they couldn't. You learn to forgive not just others, but yourself for staying too long, for trying too hard, for not knowing better before you knew how. There's power in that kind of forgiveness, silent, sovereign, and sacred. It's the ultimate act of self-respect. Because when you forgive without needing closure, you're declaring that your soul's stillness matters more than your ego's satisfaction. And life rewards that release. The moment you let go, new energy flows in. The weight lifts. The patterns stop repeating. You start attracting differently because you're no longer vibrating from the frequency of pain. You've graduated from the need for closure into the realm of peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let people back in. It means you let their memories stop controlling your inner world. You can love them from afar, wish them well, and move forward lighter. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. That's what spiritual maturity feels like. Choosing your peace over your pride, your healing over your hurt, your growth over your grudge. And in that choice, quiet, steady, and unseen, you reclaim your power. 5. You choose solitude over superficiality. There comes a time in your evolution when solitude stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like freedom. What once felt lonely now feels sacred. You realize that peace isn't found in the crowd, it's found in the quiet. The spiritually mature stop chasing company for comfort. They no longer need noise to feel alive or validation to feel valuable. They've learned that being surrounded by people who don't truly see you is far lonelier than walking alone in truth. So they choose solitude, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You begin to notice that most of what the world calls connection is actually performance. People bond over gossip, distraction, and mutual avoidance of their own emptiness. The mature soul no longer participates. You crave presence over popularity, authenticity over applause. You'd rather have one genuine conversation that nourishes your spirit than 1,000 empty interactions that drain it. In solitude, you find yourself again. You reconnect with your intuition, that quiet inner voice that gets drowned out by the world's noise. You start hearing truth in silence. You begin to understand that solitude isn't the absence of love. It's the space where self-love grows. At first, the world might misunderstand you. They'll call you distant, cold, or antisocial. But in reality, you're protecting your energy. You've realized that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, or your peace. You've outgrown environments that thrive on superficiality. You no longer fear missing out because you've learned that nothing real can pass you by. Solitude becomes your mirror. It shows you your wounds, your patterns, your growth. It teaches you to enjoy your own company and to fill your own cup. It strips away illusion, leaving only truth, sometimes painful, but always pure. You begin to see that the deeper your connection with yourself, the less you tolerate anything artificial. Conversations that lack depth start to feel suffocating. Relationships built on convenience start to feel heavy. You stop chasing fitting in and start cherishing peace that doesn't require performance. There is beauty in that stillness. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer lonely in solitude. You are alive in it. You've become your own companion, your own sanctuary, your own source of validation. The same silence that once frightened you now strengthens you. The spiritually mature understand that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's where the soul resets, where clarity forms, where power rebuilds. It's where you learn to listen deeply, not to the world, but to yourself. You learn that loneliness is not the absence of people, it's the absence of connection. And solitude is not isolation, it's the presence of alignment. When you reach this level of awareness, you no longer chase love, success, or belonging. You attract it, because your energy is no longer scattered, it's centered. You've stopped running from yourself, and that's what makes your presence magnetic. You've discovered that being alone isn't a void, it's a vessel. It's the space where transformation happens, where the soul breathes, and where truth whispers loud enough to be heard. So you walk alone, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Because solitude is no longer a wound you carry. It's a crown you wear. And when you reach that point, you realize the path of solitude isn't empty. It's simply reserved for those rare enough to walk in truth. Spiritual maturity isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's a quiet strength, the kind that doesn't demand recognition because it's rooted in peace. It's the moment your inner world becomes more important than the outer one. You no longer chase, force, or prove. You align, observe, and trust. You respond instead of react. You seek depth instead of drama. You trust divine timing instead of control. You forgive without needing closure. And you choose solitude instead of superficiality. These are not just traits, they're transformations. Each one represents a layer of ego stripped away, a piece of your soul reclaimed, a new level of awareness earned through pain, patience, and presence. You start to see that maturity isn't about perfection, it's about perspective. It's about understanding that peace doesn't come when life is easy. It comes when your spirit is steady. You no longer measure growth by how much you gain, but by how little can shake you. The spiritually mature walk differently, not faster, but freer. Their silence carries power. Their calm commands respect. And their presence itself becomes a mirror, reflecting truth wherever they go. If this message resonated with you, you're already walking that path. Keep going. Protect your peace. Trust your process. And remember, the goal isn't to become flawless. It's to become whole. Subscribe to Motivation Guru to continue your journey toward mastery, awareness, and inner strength. Which sign of spiritual maturity have you grown into or are still learning to embody?